what can we expect will happen in court? Trump is meeting with his legal team tonight. What will happen tomorrow?
Well, Elizabeth, if in fact he's going to have permanent counsel under a notice of appearance, he can be arraigned. They'll set conditions of pretrial release. He'll be let out of the courtroom when it's over, and then Judge Cannon will set a trial order in this case. He'll ask for a jury trial, and the government will have to turn over their discovery. But if he doesn't have that legal team in place, we're all going to be right back here in about 2 weeks. He'll ask for additional time for himself to get himself permanent legal counsel, and we'll be back for report right counsel, and there won't be an arraignment, and that speedy trial clock will not start ticking.
Well, Doug, I wanted to ask you about the speedy trial clock because Jack Smith, in the only public remarks he's given this entire time, said he was going to push for a speedy trial because it was in the public interest and it was the rights of former President Donald Trump. How speedy will this be?
Well, that's really the million-dollar question, Elizabeth. Obviously, the point is, wait a minute, how is this timetable in court and in New York City, by the way, the other case, how are the two timetables going to track into the whole primary season? How are they going to track into the election itself? To answer your specific question, the point is the defense will almost undoubtedly ask to extend the time, and as long as they waive it, as David and I have seen umpteen, zillion times, the judge will probably extend it. So it's hard to make a specific prediction, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes out almost until or past the election, honestly.
Wow, that's different from what I've been hearing. Doug, there's also been lots of talk about charges that Trump violated the Espionage Act and what that exactly means. Senator Lindsey Graham, who is a lawyer himself, said this on television yesterday. Take a listen.
Yeah.
Espionage charges are absolutely ridiculous. Whether you like Trump or not, he did not commit espionage. He did not disseminate, leak, or provide information to a foreign power or to a news organization to damage this country. He is not a spy. He's overcharged.
Doug, Trump wasn't charged with espionage. He was charged with violating the Espionage Act by mishandling classified documents. Why is Senator Graham saying this?
Thank you for that clarification. Seriously, Elizabeth, because the point is, the Espionage Act is entitled Espionage Act, but the statute itself does not address espionage. We do see this, not to get in a whole seminar, throughout the federal code book, but he is not charged with espionage. So let's clear that up right now. And on that point, really quickly, the point is there's two levels of violations. One is sort of the technical one. You were improperly in possession. There's no question about that. You shouldn't have had the materials. That's fine. But if you were presenting that to me on intake in the U.S. Attorney's Office, I am going to ask, were any of the documents altered? Were any of them destroyed? And were any of them seen by foreign actors? I'm not suggesting that if all three answers are no, he shouldn't be charged, but it is relevant because that's more serious, okay?
Right, but others have been imprisoned for these same crimes. A week and a half ago, a military officer was sentenced to 3 years in prison for simply possessing classified documents, and he didn't obstruct.
But he disseminated on the internet, seriously, which is a distinction because ostensibly the eyes of the world could see it. I'm not defending anybody. I'm not condemning anybody. This case is more serious than the case in New York City. There's no question about that. And there are technical violations, no question about that. But I am saying that once you morph into the political side of this discussion, you do have to say that no alteration, no destruction, this is about refusing to turn it over more than having them. President Trump brought this on himself. He should have turned the stuff over. Case closed, in my view.
Very quickly, David, some of the strongest evidence against former President Trump comes from his own lawyers, these notes and transcripts that were provided and that were outlined in this indictment. What are the chances that will be admissible in his trial?
Well, they're certainly going to litigate it. It's in the indictment already. It's what we refer to as prior back acts or lack of a mistake on his part. It in and of itself isn't necessarily the evidence, but it shows that he was aware of what he could and what he couldn't do, that he was getting advice. And then with regard to the searches that were conducted, what he was telling them, if they uphold the crime fraud extension, then these bits of information are going to come in and they're going to be used against him, and it's going to help the government to prove their case. His own words. He's been proven to be his own enemy. As was just pointed out, If he had just turned the documents back over, we probably won't be here right now.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.